We'll finish our review now with circumference and area. Find the exact circumference. So remember, circumference is pi times diameter, and the diameter here is 16 feet. So the circumference in exact form is 16 pi feet. Okay, we don't actually multiply by pi for an exact answer. We would multiply by pi in our calculators if we were getting an approximate answer. Find the radius of a circle with a circumference of 42 meters. So we're going to use this same formula here, but now we know the circumference. So here we're going to put a 42. So 42 equals pi times diameter. Okay, so to get the diameter, we can divide both sides by pi. So we have 42 divided by pi, and that is 13.37. And that is the diameter. To get the radius, I have to divide that number by 2. So the radius is the diameter divided by 2, and that is 6.68. So we have 6.68 meters for a radius. Okay, now we're going to find arc length. And arc length is a portion of the circumference. Okay, so the arc length, we'll call it L. Okay, and we're doing arc AB, so that's this minor arc right here. The length of the arc is to the circumference, which is pi times diameter, and the diameter all the way across is going to be 12. So 12 pi is the circumference, equals the number of degrees out of 360. So I'll multiply this across. So I get the length is 60 times 12 pi over 360. Now in my calculator, I will put everything but the pi in a fraction. So I have 60 times 12 over 360, and that is 2. So the length of the arc is 2 pi centimeters. And here's one in radians. Okay, so it's done mostly the same. So I have the length of the arc, and it says the bold arc for B, and that would be this out here. Okay, so the length of the arc is 2 pi times diameter, and the diameter here is 22. So 22 pi is the circumference, equals the number of radians, 3 pi, and I put a 1 there. Don't really know why. I'll cross that out. So it's 3 pi over 2 over the radians all the way around the circle. Here in degrees, we did 360. All the way around the circle is 360 degrees. In radians, that's 2 pi. So I'll multiply this across. So I have 3, I'll clear that out and make it a fraction. 3 times 22 over 2 is 33. So the length is 33, and then pi times pi is pi squared, all over 2 pi. Okay, now 33 over 2 is not going to simplify, but I can simplify a pi. I can cancel a pi out of numerator and denominator, so I get the length is 33 pi over 2 yards. Okay, so that's circumference and arc length. Next up we have find the radius given an arc length. So we'll use that same formula. Where we have length here, we'll put this length. The length of the arc is 23.88 over the circumference of the circle, which we don't know, so that's pi times diameter, equals the number of degrees, 105, out of 360. So let's do our cross products. We have 105 times pi times diameter, and here we have 360 times 23.88, 8596.8. Okay, and then I can divide by 105 pi to get the diameter by itself. Okay, so I have 8596.8 divided by, and I can do this as a fraction with 105 pi in the denominator, or I can just do divided by and then use parentheses, 105 pi, and then close those parentheses. We want to make sure we're dividing by all of this. If I don't use parentheses, I'm dividing by 105, then multiplying my answer by pi, instead of dividing by 105 pi. So be careful to make sure you use those parentheses. And I get 26.06. 26.06 inches. Now that is the diameter, but I want the radius. Divide that by 2. And I have 13.03. So my radius is 13.03 inches. Find the exact area. This doesn't really show up very well, but that's 6 inches for the radius. The area of a circle is pi r squared. The area of this circle is pi times 6 squared. Okay, the radius is 6, so we've got 6 squared, which is 36. Exact means don't actually multiply it by pi in your calculator, leave the pi on paper. So the area is 36 pi, and then it is inches squared. Find the area of the sector. So the area of the sector is to the area of the circle, pi 27 squared, as the number of degrees of the sector is to the degrees of the whole circle, 360. So we'll multiply this across. So we have area is 130 times pi times 27 squared over 360. Okay, so we'll put in everything but the pi. So we have in a fraction 130 times 27 squared over 360. That is 1053 over 4. So it's 1053 pi over 4 centimeters squared. That is the exact area. Okay, then the area of this sector here in radians. So the area is to pi 16 squared, pi times radius squared, as the number of radians, 2 pi over 3, is to the radians all the way around the circle, which is 2 pi. So multiply this across. Okay, so I've got pi times pi, that's pi squared. But I also have 16 squared times 2 over 3. So I'll use a fraction for that. 16 squared times 2 over 3 is 512 over 3. So the area is 512 pi squared over 3 all over 2 pi. Okay, so I'm going to divide a fraction by a fraction. I'm going to put this over 1 so it looks like a fraction. And my favorite way to divide fractions like this is multiplying this outer loop. I get 512 pi squared times 1, so that's 512 pi squared. And multiply this inner loop, and I get 6 pi. Now one of the pi's will cancel, and then I have 512 over 6, which is 256 over 3. So my final exact answer is 256 pi over 3, and that is in feet squared.